A little bit of a comeback, but they did just enough to get the win. This marks the fourth and final meeting between these two teams, and in each of them, Phoenix has faced a Portland team missing key players. But the initial three contests included nothing like the injury report on Sunday. The Blazers were without Januari who had right knee tendonitis, Ibu Baji, who had a right hip contusion, Malcolm Brogdon, who was out with a right adductor soreness, Moses Brown with a left wrist fracture, Jeremy Grant with an illness, Shaden Sharp had adductor soreness, Matisse Thybulle had an illness as well, and Robert Williams III was suffering a right knee ligament injury. Now the Blazers, who now have a record of 10-29, entered the night 1-6 in January with a plus-minus of -192. Their losses were by 21, 29, 36, 28, 23, and 62. This made this different type of a game for the Suns, who are now at 21-18. It's not so much of a trap game, but this was a challenge for Phoenix to stay with the task at hand and not get too comfortable or complacent despite the crowded end of the bench for the opposition. So in a roundabout way, it goes back to what the Suns must improve on over the next couple of weeks, which is more consistency, more engagement, and more connectivity. But the good news is the Suns now have all three of their superstars back in their lineup. They seem to be on their winning ways. Booker with 34 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Beal, along with his 23 points, also had 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals. It was a 14 of 22 shooting night for Booker and 9 of 13 for Beal. Meanwhile, Durant went 8 of 16 from the field with 21 points. He also had 5 rebounds and 5 assists. Things are looking good in the land of the sun. All right, let's move on to some tennis updates now, where Naomi Osaka exited the 2024 Australian Open after losing to her French counterpart, Caroline Garcia, 4-6, 6-7. Naomi Osaka waved to the crowd and walked back up the Players' Tunnel when her Grand Slam comeback at the Australian Open ended in a first-round loss to 16th-seeded Caroline Garcia. It seemed to be too soon into her comeback for the former two-time winner to have a chance of adding a third title in Melbourne this time. Osaka lost just 3 matches into her return in a tight encounter at the Rod Laver Arena on Monday night. Meanwhile, her French counterpart, Garcia, did not give Osaka a look at a break point in the match. Most of the rallies were short, and service holds were comfortable except for one in the first set, which made all the difference.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good match. For me, I felt like I did the best that I could possibly do, and it was just really nice to be on Rod Laver again and hear the audience and how much they interacted with the match. That was fun. Yes and no. Like, I feel, of course, I have to tell myself, like, hey, like 6 months ago you were pregnant and stuff like that. And, of course, like, there's a voice in my head, so, like, that's, like, who are you to, like, think that you can come back and immediately start winning matches? But, I don't know. I kind of always expect myself to stand a chance anyways. So I guess just being nicer to myself is, like, a key thing that I learned in my time away. But it is really tough to, I guess, play a good server and not make too many returns.
Yeah, I mean, I feel definitely happy. You know, it was a great atmosphere out there. Kind of my first late night session, and it definitely feels different. And playing Naomi in this court, it's always very special. So, yeah, it will be a match I will remember, and that's also why I play tennis. I mean, for someone who have been out for 15 months and giving birth 6 months ago, it's quite impressive. And I think if she come back and play tournament, that means she feels ready and she's motivated to go get some big title again. Her ball is heavy, serve is heavy, forehand is heavy, and come fast. You have to be really ready, and And yeah, I mean, it's great to see her back. You know, she brings so much to tennis in the last couple of years, and she had some struggle, and now she feels ready to come back, and it's great. I hope it goes well for her.
So as mentioned, just 3 matches into her return from 15 months off the tour, and 6 months after the birth of her daughter Shea, Osaka lost to Garcia in what was a pretty tight encounter, especially in the second set. Now, Osaka was not the only one. She was one of 3 past Australian Open champions who returned to play at Melbourne Park for the first time as moms, joining 2016 winner Angelique Kerber and also 2018 champion Caroline Wozniacki. Osaka had previously won the U.S. Open in 2018 and 2020, and also won the Australian title in 2019 and 2021. Now, this marked the first time she's ever lost in the first round in Melbourne, where she first made her debut in 2016. She did take some time out from tennis not only during her pregnancy, but also for her own well-being after first-round exits at both Roland Garros and the U.S. Open in 2022. However, she's not planning any more breaks for now. Let's hope that she has some better results in her next tournament. We've got more Australian Open updates as proud Indonesian female tennis player Aldila Suciadi started the battle for her first Grand Slam title at the 2024 Australian Open. She is the only Indonesian tennis player in the tournament and will partner with her Japanese counterpart Miyu Kato to compete in the women's doubles category.
The 2024 Australian Open has kicked off on the second Sunday of the year.
It's more than a sporting event, it's a festival. And we're so pleased to be able to see that we may crack this year 1 million visits to the Australian Open. When you take into account the Chinese, the Japanese and the US tourism, the Australian dollar, the great Melbourne weather that we're experiencing today, there's every reason to believe that we'll get over 1 million people coming here to the Great Australian Open.
I'll never be able to forget what Melbourne has meant to me, my career and my life really. So it's a thrill to be back, and certainly a thrill to be standing next to this beautiful lady and these beautiful trophies.
As the first Grand Slam of the year, the Australian Open holds the status of being the highest level professional tennis tournament.
It's now my honour to officially open the 2024 Australian Open.
For 2 weeks every summer, Australia is the center of the sporting universe. The Australian Open kicks off the tennis year in Melbourne. This is the first Grand Slam of the season where top-notch players compete to prove who is the best. The Australian Open has evolved into a showcase of creativity and ambition, unencumbered by tradition.
Participation in this tournament is a source of pride, as athletes must meet specific requirements to qualify.
The Australian Open is one of the biggest tournaments, tennis tournaments in the world, which is a Grand Slam. So it is, to me, it is a very important because it's also the start of the year. So it's where all the journey gonna begin in 2024.
Aldila stands out as one of the select few Indonesian tennis players eligible to compete at the Grand Slam level.
Aldila memang saat ini adalah yang ketiganya di Australian Open. Yang pertama tahun 2002 mendapat wildcard dan waktu itu kalah di babak pertama. 2023 bisa masuk ke babak ketiga, suatu kemajuan yang cukup bagus. Nah, saat ini yang ketiga 2024 awal tahun, awal session ya menargetkan seharusnya lebih dari babak ketiga.
Dila has quite a time during December and almost a month in Indonesia to train. So that time we work more on her technical aspect to increase her quality shots, and also she works with some physical trainer and physios to overcome her injury, and then also to strengthen her body.
With resolute determination, Aldila aspires to make history by becoming the first Indonesian to secure a Grand Slam title.
Definitely we want to pass the third round better than last year, but also this year it's not impossible for us to win the Grand Slam. So we'll try to aim as high as we can, and then we'll start from there.
The 2024 Australian Open provides a significant opportunity for her to turn this long-standing dream into reality.
Because we like to play here in Australian Open and we love the courts. Maybe it's more of the mental and the pressure that we'll have in Australian Open because it's one of the biggest tournaments. Everybody wants to do well and there will be a lot of pressure, but it's up to us how to handle that pressure, and hopefully we play much better.
For decades, the Australian Open has served as a prominent showcase, placing Australia in the international spotlight. This prestigious event not only highlights the evolution of Australians, but also underscores the country's position in the global. Muhammad Andri, reporting for C Today, Melbourne.
All right, we're obviously going to bring you more highlights and updates from the ongoing Australian Open, but it's time for us now to take our next short break. But do stay with us. We're coming up on 7 in the a.m. here. We've got your latest entertainment updates coming up next. Stay with us.
Their existence is now being critically endangered.
Dia memiliki ekor yang sangat panjang, jauh lebih panjang daripada badannya sendiri.
Tekniknya dia itu bergelombol, menggunakan punggung temannya untuk naik.
Sebenarnya konservasi burung hantu di sini latar belakangnya jelas asas manfaat. Jadi kita pengen melestarikan burung, melestarikan satwa, tapi juga otomatis dampaknya ke masyarakat yang khususnya sekarang kalau di sini kan petani.
Into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking debt to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
The beauty and the excitement of being there.
Indescribable to lose such an iconic, historical, and magnificent.
Let's take a look around, shall we? Come on in. We found them.
Where people come and go.
A cup of tea, a perfect way to end your day. Come see the beauty, only on See Indonesia.
Welcome back to Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, where we bring you guys some of the sports that you guys can go play here in Indonesia.
Handball karena masih baru, tadi kita harus bisa juga mempopulerkan ini kepada masyarakat sampai ke bawah.
We do it from scratch at the time because we don't know ice hockey, how to play, how to develop, how to manage this sport.
You don't have to be good with your foot. Like you can just dribble the ball and just throw it to the full ball.
Yeah, that's true.
Flavors is gaining more popularity around the world in the last decade. Personally love this, not just because it is familiar for our palate, but because the airiness, the textures of the youtiao, it's completely different when baguette. So with those appetites and with those pleasure-driven people, Menteng is a very special place for restaurant.
I love this atmosphere. Woo! Heading to Gili Trawangan. And this is the travel note because life is dope.
Welcome back to the C Morning Show, and it's time to bring you some entertainment updates.
Reza Rahadian and Bunga Citra Lestari are set to reunite in an upcoming romantic comedy movie called Pasutri Gaje.
That's right. Now, the movie is scheduled for release in cinemas next month.
Aku dengar kamu mau ngajak Adelia nikah. Kami rasanya sudah saling cocok. Siapa yang bilang cocok?
Kalian kan baru 5 bulan pacaran.
The movie was adapted from a webtoon of the same name and revolves around the marriage of civil servants Adimas and Adelia, played by Reza Rahadian and Bunga Citra Lestari. It also highlights some comical moments between the couple and Adelia's father, played by Indro Warkop.
Pasutri Gaje also stars Andre Taulani, Kiki Saputri, Tora Sudiro, just to name a few. This star-studded movie is scheduled for release in cinemas across Indonesia on February the 7th, just in time for Valentine's Day, I suppose.
Time for us to vote as well.
It looks funny, though.
Ini bikinnya pas tangkap basah.
I love Reza Rahadian. He can play anything, can't he?
Of course.
Play any role, dramatic roles.
Yeah. He's the most talented actor in Indonesia.
I would say so. I think it's easy to say.
Yeah, well. All right, now let's move on to our next update. Universal Pictures has released the trailer for the upcoming horror film Abigail. Set to release on April 19th.
All right, now this film is helmed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette, who are also known for directing recent popular horror movies, including Scream and Scream 6.
The movie Abigail follows a group of kidnappers who get in over their heads when their young target, a girl named Abigail, played by Alicia Weir, turns out to be a vampire.
I'm here to make sure you're safe. What's your name? Mine's Abigail.
The suspenseful trailer shows the captors trying to figure out the best way to kill the young bloodsucker. In an isolated mansion, the captors start to dwindle one by one, and they discover, to their mounting horror, that they're locked inside with no normal little girl.
What the fuck?
Shit, we gotta get out of here.
I think she knows something.
The trailer also offers a glimpse at Abigail taking on a vampiric form, roaring with a mouthful of sharp fangs. Playing the kidnappers are Melissa Barrera, the late Angus Cloud, and Dan Stevens. The film marks one of Cloud's final on-screen performances following his death in July 2023 at the age of 25.
Vampire. Ready?
Known to be part of the recent string of movies based on the classic Universal monsters, it was reported to be based on the 1936 movie Dracula's Daughter, which follows an attempted kidnapping that goes wrong.
I'm a big Breaking Bad fan, so I'm gonna.
You're gonna watch that.
I'm gonna brave it and try to watch that one after the kids are asleep.
But I wonder, there's so many horror movies named by a woman, Abigail, like...
Yeah, it's true.
Annabelle.
Yeah, the doll.
The doll. Why isn't it called Michael or Kevin?
I would argue that they do have those, but they're just not named after them. Michael from Halloween is one. Freddy Krueger.
Jason.
Yeah, Jason from Friday the 13th. There you go.
That's true. Okay.
It just wouldn't hit the same if they called it just Jason. Anyway, those are all the entertainment updates that we have for now. We're gonna have more for you before the end of our program. We're gonna take another short break because we're now entering the second hour of our show, and we have got your latest and daily business updates coming up next on See Today Business. Stay with us. Hey there, buddies! Welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk.
Enggak, dia hostnya, kita co-hostnya.
It's better to be overdressed than underdressed. That's actually a good hack, because I used to live in Canada. That was our trick. Point to Manado on this map. I'm horrible. I told you I'm bad.
Dikira dengan banyaknya informasi itu kan jadi makin gampang gitu nulis.
Iya.
Tapi ternyata susah banget.
Group of volunteers operating in south of the city has united to assist displaced children in a refugee camp in Rafah in overcoming the trauma of war. The volunteers come from diverse professional backgrounds and share expertise in working with young people.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking that to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
Asian flavors is gaining more popularity around the world in the last decade. Personally love this, not just because it is familiar for our palate, but because the airiness, the textures of the youtiao, it's completely different when baguette. So with those appetites and with those pleasure-driven people, Menteng is a very special place for restaurant.
Their existence is now being critically endangered.
Dia memiliki ekor yang sangat panjang, jauh lebih panjang daripada badannya sendiri.
Tekniknya dia itu bergelombol, menggunakan punggung temannya untuk naik.
Sebenarnya konservasi burung hantu di sini latar belakangnya jelas asas manfaat. Jadi kita pengen melestarikan burung, melestarikan satwa, tapi juga otomatis dampaknya ke masyarakat yang khususnya sekarang kalau di sini kan petani.
Welcome back to Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, where we bring you guys some of the sports that you guys can go play here in Indonesia.
Handball karena masih baru, tadi kita harus bisa juga mempopulerkan ini kepada masyarakat sampai ke bawah.
We do it from scratch at the time because we don't know ice hockey, how to play, how to develop, how to manage this sport.
You don't have to be good with your foot. You can just dribble the ball and just throw it to the full ball.
Yeah, that's true.
I love this atmosphere. Woo! Heading to Gili Trawangan. And this is the travel note because life is dope.
Hello and welcome back to the C Morning Show, and we have arrived in our business segment. We start with our first update. The Indonesian Central Statistic Agency, or BPS, reported on Monday that Indonesia's trade balance remains in surplus for the 44th consecutive month. In 2023, both exports and imports declined significantly, reflecting global commodity price drops and softened demand from trade partners.
Indonesia recorded a trade surplus once again in December 2023, with exports up by 1.89%, surpassing imports for 44 consecutive months, resulting in a $3.31 billion surplus.
Dengan demikian, neraca perdagangan Indonesia telah mencatat surplus selama 44 bulan berturut-turut sejak Mei 2020. Surplus Desember 2023 ini meningkat dibandingkan dengan bulan sebelumnya, namun lebih rendah jika dibandingkan dengan bulan yang sama pada tahun lalu. Surplus neraca perdagangan Desember 2023 lebih ditopang oleh surplus pada komoditas non-migas, yaitu sebesar 5,20 miliar US$, dengan komoditas penyumbang surplus utamanya adalah bahan bakar mineral atau HS27, kemudian lemak dan minyak hewan atau nabati atau HS15, besi dan baja atau HS72.
However, despite an ongoing surplus, Indonesia's trade balance has shown a significant decline. In 2023, Indonesia's trade surplus fell by 33.4% compared to the previous year due to export disruptions, lower commodity prices, and slowing of global demand. These disruptions impacted Indonesia's exports of non-oil and gas commodities, especially palm oil, coffee, coal, and nickel.
Jadi nilai ekspor nikel Desember 2023 adalah sebesar 521,8 juta US dollar. Ini mengalami penurunan sebesar 4,09% secara mantuman. Ya. Nah, volume ekspor nikel Desember 2023-nya itu adalah 126,0 juta ton dan juga mengalami penurunan 14,06% secara mantuman. Ya. Nah, penurunan volume ini lebih dalam kalau kita lihat dibandingkan dengan penurunan nilainya. Ya. Jadi ada indikasi penurunan ini disebabkan karena memang penurunan permintaan dari negara tujuan ekspornya. Ya.
Meanwhile, the World Bank is forecasting a 4% drop in its global commodity index this year, attributed to a slowdown in global growth.
So global economy has been remarkably resilient despite a barrage of shocks. But the global slowdown continues. In fact, this will be a third year of global growth slowing. We will see growth around 2.4%. Last year it was 2.6%. And there are still a multitude of risks confronting the global economy.
Indonesia's trade revenue has been one of the major contributors to the country's economy, especially during the challenges of the pandemic and geopolitical turmoil. However, the drop in global commodity prices could have an impact on that.
Indonesian President Joko Widodo visited VinFast EV manufacturing complex in the northern port city of Haiphong, Vietnam on January the 13th. Now, during his two-day state visit, he highlighted the wide-open opportunity for VinFast to invest in Indonesia. President Joko Widodo toured the VinFast factory on January the 13th, and he was accompanied by Vin Group Chairman and VinFast General Director Pham Nhat Vuong. After the factory visit, the president welcomed VinFast's plan to invest in Indonesia, hoping to integrate them into the EV battery supply chain to boost the country's EV ecosystem. Now, in September 2023, VinFast announced an up to $12 billion investment plan for Indonesia, importing VF E34 and VF5 EV models, as well as a $200 million complete knockdown or CKD facility in Indonesia. VinFast considers Indonesia as one of 7 key potential markets for EV and battery manufacturing hub due to low-cost advantages and abundant raw materials. Higher energy and housing prices pushed up U.S. inflation in December, a sign that the Federal Reserve's drive to slow inflation to its 2% target will likely remain a bumpy one. Thursday report from the Labor Department showed that U.S. annual inflation rose to 3.4% in December 2023, higher than the 3.1% figure in November. More than half the increase in prices from November to December reflected higher housing costs. Now, overall, housing prices rose 0.5% from November to December. Rents and home ownership costs were up to 0.4% and 0.5% respectively. Energy costs, along with food prices, also contributed to inflation. However, core inflation, which excludes volatile food and energy prices, were up 3.9% from a year earlier, the mildest pace since May 2021. Now, markets are widely expecting the Fed to lower their rates this year, but the slight jump in inflation could delay the much-anticipated Fed rate cut. Now, conflicts in the Middle East and Ukraine also pose the risk of pushing up commodity prices and increase inflation pressures this year. However, the former president of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, James Bullard, says that if inflation manages to fall in the U.S., then the Fed could start cutting rates as early as March. Now, U.S. inflation has already gone down significantly, as it was at 6.4% in January 2023, and now it's at 3.4%.
Inflation's been falling very rapidly, and now it looks like if it continues to fall at the current pace, that we'd be at 2% by the third quarter of 2024. So that's only about 6 months away, and that's why Wall Street's become so optimistic about rate cuts coming from the Fed. So I think most of this just depends on the inflation numbers as they come in, and maybe to some extent on how the committee wants to play this, tactically speaking, over the meetings starting in March and going into the spring and summer.
More than 60 heads of state and government, along with hundreds of business leaders, gather for the 54th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, from January 15 to 19th. Now, this year's annual meeting with the theme Rebuilding Trust will focus on the escalating geopolitical tensions, global trade disruptions in the Middle East, and the looming threats of climate change and artificial intelligence.
The meeting begins on Monday, with over 2,800 participants attend from 120 countries. This event brings together governments, business community, and civil society to discuss global challenges. Many notable figures are expected to attend the meeting, including Chinese Premier Li Qiang and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron will be the only G7 leader to attend this year's forum and will be accompanied by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Some leaders absent from the meeting, with elections looming in many parts of the world and potential domestic political headwinds in some countries. Absent leaders include US President Joe Biden and UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Nevertheless, US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and US National Security Advisor Jack Sullivan are expected to attend the forum. Their presence will be important, as will the attendance of Israeli President Isaac Herzog and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who are expected at the meeting. Business executives and heads of state will have to face some tough questions in their meeting on Monday.
We know that the war in Gaza is still going on, and there are worries for a further escalation. That has been avoided. So in Davos, we will bring the key stakeholders there and look how to avoid a further deterioration, and also what is next. Because we also have to inject some silver linings. We will have the key foreign ministers from the Middle East and North Africa. We will have the Prime Minister of Qatar, Al Thani. We'll have the President of Israel, Herzog, Prime Minister of Lebanon, Prime Minister of Jordan. And together with the other 60 head of states and governments, we will have discussions also on the Middle East.
This year's theme, Rebuilding Trust, calls for greater cooperation amid complex geopolitical escalations, geoeconomic disruptions, and coupled with both technological and environmental challenges.
Since 2016, we have seen that the cooperation has gone down, and since 2020, it has really plummeted. It has gone from 40 million people being displaced to 110 million. We're seeing, for example, cyber attacks increased fourfold. So in Davos, we will make sure that we bring together the right people to see how can we also, in this very challenging world, look at opportunities to cooperate.
Okay, that's all business update for this hour. After the break, Paul and I will talk about elevating Indonesian fashion through the film OOTD with cast Jan Almira and Jolene Marie. Stay on the C Morning Show only on C Today.
this atmosphere. Woo! Heading to Gili Trawangan. And this special episode, I already prepared myself for an adventure on the island, which in the top of the list to visit. And this is the travel note because life is dope.
Their existence is now being critically endangered.
Dia memiliki ekor yang sangat panjang, jauh lebih panjang daripada badannya sendiri.
Tekniknya dia keluar dia itu bergelombol menggunakan punggung temannya untuk naik.
Sebenarnya konservasi burung hantu di sini latar belakangnya jelas asas manfaat. Jadi kita pengen melestarikan burung, melestarikan satwa, tapi juga otomatis dampaknya ke masyarakat yang khususnya sekarang kalau di sini kan petani.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking that to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
Hey there, buddies! Welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk.
Enggak, dia hostnya, kita co-hostnya.
It's better to be overdressed than underdressed. That's actually a good hack, because I used to live in Canada. That was our trick.
Point to Manado on this map. I'm horrible. I told you I'm bad.
Dikira dengan banyaknya informasi itu kan jadi makin gampang gitu nulis.
Iya.
Tapi ternyata susah banget.
A group of volunteers operating in south of the city has united to assist displaced children in a refugee camp in Rafah in overcoming the trauma of war. The volunteers come from diverse professional backgrounds and share expertise in working with young people.
Asian flavors is gaining more popularity around the world in the last decade. Personally love this, not just because it is familiar for our palate, but because the airiness, the textures of the youtiao, it's completely different when baguette. So with those appetites and with those pleasure-driven people, Menteng is a very special place for restaurant.
Welcome back to Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, where we bring you guys some of the sports that you guys can go play here in Indonesia.
Handball karena masih baru, tadi kita harus bisa juga mempopulerkan ini kepada masyarakat sampai ke bawah.
We do it from scratch at the time because we don't know ice hockey, how to play, how to develop, how to manage this sport.
You don't have to be good with your foot. Like, you can just dribble the ball and just throw it to the full ball.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this atmosphere. Woo! Heading to Gili Trawangan. And this special episode, I already prepared myself for an adventure on the island, which in the top of the list to visit. And this is the travel note because life is dope.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking that to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
The beauty and the excitement of being there,
indescribable to lose such an iconic, historical, and magnificent.
Let's take a look around, shall we? Come on in. We found them.
Well, people come and go. A cup of tea, a perfect way to end your day. Come see the beauty, only on See Indonesia!
Their existence is now being critically endangered.
Dia memiliki ekor yang sangat panjang, jauh lebih panjang daripada badannya sendiri.
Tekniknya dia itu bergelombol menggunakan punggung temannya untuk naik.
Sebenarnya konservasi burung hantu di sini latar belakangnya jelas asas manfaat. Jadi kita pengen melestarikan burung, melestarikan satwa, tapi juga otomatis dampaknya ke masyarakat yang khususnya sekarang kalau di sini kan petani.
Welcome back to Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, where we bring you guys some of the sports that you guys can go play here in Indonesia.
Handball karena masih baru, tadi kita harus bisa juga mempopulerkan ini kepada masyarakat sampai ke bawah.
We do it from scratch at the time because we don't know ice hockey, how to play, how to develop, how to manage this sport.
You don't have to be good with your foot. You can just dribble the ball and just throw it to the full ball.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking that to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
The beauty and the excitement of being there.
Indescribable to lose such an iconic, historical, and magnificent.
Let's take a look around, shall we? Come on in. We found them.
Where people come and go. A cup of tea, a perfect way to end your day. Come see the beauty, only on Indonesia.
Welcome back to Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, where we bring you guys some of the sports that you guys can go play here in Indonesia.
Handball karena masih baru, tadi kita harus bisa juga mempopulerkan ini kepada masyarakat sampai ke bawah.
We do it from scratch at the time because we don't know ice hockey, how to play, how to develop, how to manage this sport.
You don't have to be good with your foot. You can just dribble the ball and just throw it to the full ball.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
A group of volunteers operating in the south of the city has united to assist displaced children in a refugee camp in Rafah in overcoming the trauma of war. The volunteers come from diverse professional backgrounds and share expertise in working with young people.
Welcome back to the C Morning Show. Now in this segment, we will talk about movies.
Yay.
So I want to ask Paul here, what is the latest film you watched?
Okay, well, I've already mentioned this before to you, but 13 Bom di Jakarta. I'm very proud to have seen that movie in the theater because I don't get to the theater that much. Yeah, it was amazing. I'm glad I got to see it. I'm glad I got a babysitter for the night.
Oh, okay.
How about you?
Me, the last Indonesian film, I forgot. I think it was Gadis Kretek.
Yeah, nice.
But I watched it on
Online.
online.
Sure.
But yeah, you know, many Indonesian films are now horror or action themed, and a psychological thriller theme that was also recently released. But have you seen an Indonesian movie with a fashion theme? Maybe for you, because you're very fashionable.
No, I absolutely have not. In fact, I haven't seen many films about fashion. What comes to mind is probably Devil Wears Prada, right?
Yeah.
That would be the one that comes to mind.
Yeah, but to know more about a movie with a fashion theme, in the studio we have the cast of OOTD, Jan Almira and Jolene Marie. Hi, guys.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Yes, you're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Okay, so first of all, let me get this straight. Is it OOTD or OOTD? Because it's an Indonesian film.
Well, let's have a little bit of cultural and heritage touch. OOTD.
Okay. So obviously our viewers know that are familiar with this long-running hashtag. It means outfit of the day. So this is the title of the film. Can you first start by introducing yourselves, like your characters in the movie? Who do you play?
Sure, but I'll correct a little bit. It's OOTD, but it stands for outfit of the designer.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Hot twist.
Hot twist, yeah. It's the day and the designer, so you can choose, but I think we'll stick with designer for now.
Okay.
And here, my role is as Nare.
Okay.
Nare is basically some like a rich kid daughter, you know, some kind of thing. And she moved to the UK, and she has met all her friends, Indonesian friends, and she works and she goes to school in the fashion industry, and she has an ambition to uplift the Indonesian culture of clothings and fabrics and all that eco-printing, you know, traditional way of making prints up to the eye of the world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is something that's relatable because we are starting to see this a lot in recent years as well, right?
Yeah,
right.
How about you, Jolene? Who do you play?
So in here I play as Danti. Danti is a fashion model. That's why I get to know Nare and then we become best friends.
Okay.
Oh, super cool. I cannot say really much about my character because
then you'll be
that would be
ruining
a
it for us.
spoiler about it.
Okay, so the movie is about fashion, but can you explain specifically about what area of fashion?
I would say, as before I mentioned about fabrics and we're trying to trigger and we're trying to focus on the way of the sustainability of how fabric and textiles are made. Because, you know, now there's a lot of things that has been, you know, like we talk about the fast fashion and the fashion waste that the world has been, you know, trying to overcome with. And we're trying to uplift the way of, let's go back to the way of the way making the traditional way of, you know, handmade and all those stuff. And eco-friendly, basically, yeah.
Okay, so you know, this is something that's very interesting to me because we talk about this all the time, right? When it comes to fashion waste and sustainability, and we also do report whenever an Indonesian designer does make it overseas and have their work featured at certain fashion shows. So how did the idea of this movie come about? Was it because of that? And what is the message that the movie itself trying to convey?
Okay, so
basically this movie is the first idea that is going to make about this movie is our producer, of course. She's the one who's like make all the ideas like come together, all the sustainability, all the education, and of course the fashion and the drama as well. So yeah, I think you're gonna see like lots of twists in this movie, and when you watch this movie, you're gonna see like, oh, I think this is relatable with my life.
Okay, tell us about the drama.
I think it's Jihan's part.
Everyone has a little drama.
So there's a message to deliver, the one that Jolene has explained before. But the drama, I would say that we are trying to carry something that has been going on in our environment, basically. And there's so many things that not everybody talks about when it comes to relationships and friendship, and all the things that behind, like how people basically try to interact and
everyday interactions.
Yeah, and these are basically a group of best friends, as you can see in the poster.
Yeah.
So it also carries a message where these best friends just support each other in whatever they may, you know, go over with or go through with. And
thick and thin, good or bad.
Yeah. So the ups and downs, they're always there. So there's like so many moral values that you can take from whatever that's going to go through in the movie.
I love friendship stories, especially a good friendship story.
Yeah.
Now, this movie actually marks Dimas Anggara's directorial debut.
Yes.
So tell us about that. What was it like, first of all, how did, when he got the whole cast together, what was it like working with Dimas, and how did the entire process go for both of you?
Okay, well, for me, I just love his calmness, you know. It's really nice to work in solitude, and the way he interacts or responds to us is very calm. I just really like how he's
That's what I just wanted to say, like, he's like being super calm, and he's a very good director, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he gives so much freedom to the cast.
To the cast.
So no pressure kind of thing,
No pressure at all. Even if we make a mistake or there's something that's not, that meets his expectation, he will just say it or who would tell us the way that we could accept, just like basically any human being could accept. You know, sometimes when people give too much pressure, or just like the way you. You know, like when you try to tell somebody like with a little bit of intonations that's a little bit high, you know, sometimes you just get a little bit.
You're in your own head, right?
I think it's because he come from a background as a actor as well.
Yeah.
That is why. That's why he understands our point of view. Right?
Yeah. So that's
it's really really awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. So tell us about the shooting process. It was a shoot abroad, right?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
The entire thing.
Right. And,
80%.
Most of it?
80%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What was that? Like, how long did the process take?
About
a month, I think,
yeah.
abroad. But here, it's
a week. I think a week. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So what were some of the challenges that you encountered shooting in the?
oh my
freezing.
goodness.
What was it?
Yes. As we all know, how batik textiles are very thin, right? And the degree that we had to live there. Live with was what I think.
I think it's around 18.
18. I know it was less.
Where was this?
UK in Birmingham.
Birmingham.
Because I had lots of night shoots outside, like exteriors. So it was freezing, and sometimes it's also raining, and we have.
It's raining a lot.
It's raining a lot.
It is the UK.
Yeah, it's a boom country. So, as you can also see in the trailer, there was this part where we were doing a fashion show. It was raining the whole day.
Wow.
So every time we stepped into the set, suddenly it starts to rain, and then we have to go back, and then we go back and forth.
So it's like coat on, coat off.
Yeah.
Coat on, coat off.
Were there delays then? Because you can't control weather.
Yeah, there was delays where it could maybe finish at about 2-3 hours at the start.
Because
it
of
had
the rain,
to, because of the rain, we had to stay there for like the whole day.
Okay.
Yeah, but that wasn't so bad, right? 2 or 3 days.
So, you don't get a lot of pressure from Dimas, perhaps, right?
No.
But you know, when it comes to fashion, especially in the social media era that we live in these days, you can attest to this as well. There's a certain pressure of looking a certain way or wearing something that people are going to either approve of, or maybe they'll be like, "Oh, what are you wearing?" So
tell us about
now
that.
being in a movie like this, which is actually going to be sort of a benchmark, if you will, for Indonesian fashion, what is that like for you guys now that you guys are going to be seen when this movie is released as sort of fashion icons, I guess, right?
Okay, well, for me, I'm a happy-go-lucky person, so I could just wear anything, and I just close my ears whenever.
You just kind of like dress the way you
I just dress the way I want, as long as it's proper in a way that, you know, we're in Indonesia. I mean, like, I wouldn't be using like 2 pieces of like bikini, like wherever I go. Like, for instance, just things like that, like just the ethical things. But aside from that, if I want just to cross prints or whatever, or cross color blocks, I would do it. I would do it, really.
As long as we're happy, right?
As long as we're happy and we're comfortable with it.
Did you ever see yourself as a fashion icon prior to this project?
Yes.
Well, just like what Jihan said, I don't really like see myself as a like fashion icon. I just wear whatever I want as long as I'm comfortable with it. So.
Nice.
Nice, yeah. Just like
Something
that.
to be said about how comfortable you feel.
Yeah,
right?
it's about how you wear it, not what you wear.
Because comfortable is number one.
Yeah.
Comfortable is the new luxury, I think.
How about you, Shanaz? Do you think about it, like about what you're going to wear that
No, I
day,
have a
whether it's-
stylist to do that.
Oh, here on the show, we have somebody to do it for all of us.
Yeah, well, we should start doing that. But I also want to know, in this movie, do they collaborated with a lot
fashion designers
Of
here?
course, 19
Yeah,
designers.
19 designers.
Okay, maybe you can tell
19
us.
designers, all Indonesians, and all with the Wastra Nusantara.
So cool.
Yeah, so cool.
Oh yeah, and the best part, actually, this movie also carries about the economical part in Indonesia, because we use lots of what we call here is like UMKM. So there are so many things we wore on the market, not always all the like high fashion luxury brands or designers. So that's also the best part, in my opinion, because you know we could carry usually they have big dreams with access that's not so big yet, and through this movie somehow maybe their dreams came true. Yeah.
And I think we always try to bring that up as well, right?
Yeah.
I've only I would say the last year or so, started buying cloths, wraps.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I've never been confident, but then I've seen guys do it. And I always ask them, I'm like, how do you just style that? Is that style it anyway?
I noticed that.
You noticed that,
yeah,
right?
You started to wear the.
And one of the reasons
sarong.
I do,
The sarong?
I've been wearing these. I'm cheating. I'm wearing sarong pants because I'm always paranoid that if I don't know how to tie it properly, it might like slip off in the middle of a mall. So I wear sarong pants, but I do get it from a local MSME, like you said.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that I know somewhere a few months ago somebody was actually literally making this with their hands.
Yeah.
And a piece of what I paid for this will go directly back to them.
Yeah.
And it's very breezy, right?
It is.
It is. Very
Comfort is number one, like Jolene said.
All right. Now, lastly, can you give us a reason why we should watch OOTD other than getting some, fashion inspiration?
Of course, there's so many moral values you could take from this movie. Like, as I said before, the friendship, the little message that we all might have to actually go through and we can resonate to this movie, to be honest. And, before things happen further, maybe you can find a lesson here so that it doesn't go too far. And yeah, I think that this, besides of it being very entertaining, the moral values like this is top-notch. Yeah.
And also for me, I just want to add some little bit more because other than the drama, it also has like this educational purposes. Yeah, because we are putting up the eco-conscious and sustainability campaign in this movie.
Okay.
So you guys should watch it.
All right.
All right.
And speaking of education, what is the one thing that you personally learned from this movie that is the most important lesson for you when you started this project that you didn't know that you now can take away from it?
Maybe for me, it's gonna be the experience. I knew about it, but I've never done it before. It would be color making. Color making, yeah. So I had a very short amount of time to do a workshop. And I was supposed to make colors out of turmeric flowers, dried flowers. Even there was, I forgot what it was, but I think it was like a dried peel of a fruit, which I forgot what the fruit was. And I had to boil all these ingredients, and it became a very beautiful color and actually stained my hands. So I was like, it's amazing how just a fruit, peel of
edible things, right?
Edible things could just stain your hands that way. So that's a very interesting thing for me.
Now you have a new life skill.
I have a new life skill.
How about you, Julie?
New skill unlocked, right?
Yeah.
Well, for me, it was like to reduce my consume in fast fashion, right?
Good.
Yeah.
Because we learn a lot about that in the making of this movie. So I think it's
You're just more conscious about everything.
Yeah, more conscious,
That's
more
important.
Very important, and I hope that you're able to spread that lesson throughout this movie as well. So there you go, guys. Release date, January the
25th.
Correct. There you go, guys. Being released nationwide in theaters. Outfit of the Designer, or OOTD. There you go. Thank you, Jolene and Jehan.
Thank you so much.
Good luck on the release. We can't wait to watch it.
Thank you. Now let's take another break, but we will have more updates from around the world when we return. So stay with us only on the C Morning Show.
I like your OOTD.
Welcome back to Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, where we bring you guys some of the sports that you guys can go play here in Indonesia.
Handball karena masih baru, tadi kita harus bisa juga mempopulerkan ini kepada masyarakat sampai ke bawah.
We do it from scratch at the time because we don't know ice hockey, how to play, how to develop, how to manage this sport.
You don't have to be good with your foot. Like, you can just dribble the ball and just throw it to the full ball.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Oh, I love this atmosphere. Woo! Heading to Gili Trawangan. And this special episode, I already prepared myself for an adventure on the island, which in the top of the list to visit. And this is the travel note because life is dope.
Their existence is now being critically endangered.
Dia memiliki ekor yang sangat panjang, jauh lebih panjang daripada badannya sendiri.
Tekniknya dia keluar dia itu bergelombol menggunakan punggung temannya untuk naik.
Sebenarnya konservasi burung hantu di sini latar belakangnya jelas asas manfaat. Jadi kita pengen melestarikan burung, melestarikan satwa, tapi juga otomatis dampaknya ke masyarakat yang khususnya sekarang kalau di sini kan petani.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking that to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
A group of volunteers operating in the south of the city has united to assist displaced children in a refugee camp in Rafah in overcoming the trauma of war. The volunteers come from diverse professional backgrounds and share expertise in working.
Asian flavors is gaining more popularity around the world in the last decade. Personally love this, not just because it is familiar for our palate, but because the airiness, the textures of the youtiao, it's completely different when baguette. So with those appetites and with those pleasure-driven people, Menteng is a very special place for restaurant.
I love this atmosphere. Woo!
Heading to Gili Trawangan.
And this is the travel note because life is dope.
Hi everyone, welcome back. You're still with us here on the CE Morning Show. It's 7:45 in the a.m. and time for us to update you on some world news. The United Nations Food Relief Agency warned on Monday that Palestinians across the Gaza Strip are now at risk of suffering famine amidst the Israel-Palestine conflict.
Meanwhile, the Palestinian death toll from ongoing Israeli attacks has exceeded 24,000, with another 64,000 injured.
The World Food Programme, or WFP, which oversees the delivery of food from the United Nations, said on Monday that everyone in Gaza is suffering from hunger and have been without food for days. The Israel-Palestine conflict has now dragged on for 101 days and set off an unprecedented humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
So far, we've reached around 1.4 million people with food, but everyone in Gaza is hungry. We're exploring all possible solutions, but none are sufficient in the face of obstacles. There are people starving in areas, and we are not able to give basic food for. The needs are rising faster than we are able to respond. We need to be able to bring in more supplies, and we need safe access to reach people everywhere in Gaza, not just those who are close to the borders. We need a long-lasting ceasefire to stop the suffering.
Meanwhile, smoke soared above the Gaza skyline as Israel launched airstrikes in its offensive against Hamas. The Gaza-based health ministry announced that the Palestinian death toll from ongoing attacks has reached 24,100 lives, with more than 64,000 injured. Israel has relentlessly pounded the Gaza Strip with airstrikes following the October 7 attack. They also launched a ground offensive that wrought unprecedented destruction and erased entire neighborhoods. Currently, a staggering 1.93 million Gaza residents have been displaced. This number accounts for 85% of the total population in the area.
And in other news, Yemen's Houthi rebels fired a missile at a U.S.-owned ship just off the coast of Yemen in the Gulf of Aden on Monday. This was done less than a day after they launched an anti-ship cruise missile toward an American destroyer in the Red Sea. Houthi military spokesperson Brigadier General Yahya Saree claimed responsibility for the attack in a recorded television address that aired on Monday night.
The attacks carried out by the Houthis have rolled global shipping as Israel's war with Hamas continues. They are targeting the crucial corridor that links Asian and Middle Eastern cargo routes to the Suez Canal and onto Europe.
بدأت القوات البحرية في القوات المسلحة اليمنية بعون الله تعالى عملية عسكرية استهدفت سفينة أمريكية في خليج عدن، وذلك بعدد من الصواريخ البحرية المناسبة، وكانت الإصابة دقيقة ومباشرة. إن القوات المسلحة اليمنية تعتبر كافة السفن والقطع الحربية الأمريكية والبريطانية المشاركة في العدوان على بلدنا أهدافا معادية ضمن بنك أهداف قواتنا. إن القوات المسلحة اليمنية تؤكد أن الرد على الاعتداءات الأمريكية والبريطانية قادم لا محالة، وأن أي اعتداء جديد لن يبقى دون رد وعقاب.
Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian met his Indian counterpart Subrahmanyam Jaishankar in Tehran, Iran on Monday.
They reviewed the catastrophic situation in Gaza and urged the United States as well as the UK to stop the war against Yemen.
Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian and Indian Foreign Minister Subrahmanyam Jaishankar warned the American and Israeli governments to stop the war and genocide against Gaza. He urged the need for an end to the war and preventing more conflicts from surfacing. Iran also warned the U.S. and the UK against attacking Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen.
Meanwhile, Jaishankar expressed concern over the safety of maritime trade routes in the Red Sea. He added that the situation is a matter of great concern to the international community with a direct bearing on India's energy and economic interests.
سفید نمیتواند از تمایل خود به عدم توسعه جنگ در منطقه سخن بگوید، به ما و دیگران پیام دهد، اما همزمان اقدام به توسعه جنگ در دریای سرخ و علیه یمن نماید. با صدای بلند به آقای بلینکن میگویم: آقای بلینکن، بارها به شما گفته ایم راه حل در جنگ نیست. به آمریکا و انگلیس هشدار می‌دهیم جنگ علیه یمن رو فوراً متوقف کنند. به آمریکا و رژیم اسرائیل هشدار می‌دهیم جنگ علیه غزه و نسل‌کشی علیه غزه رو متوقف کنند.
Russia claimed on Sunday that its forces warded off Ukraine's multiple attacks.
Meanwhile, Ukraine stated that their armed forces continue to conduct offensive operations.
The Russian Defense Ministry said in a briefing released on Sunday that their army struck an ammunition depot at Ukrainian military airport in Dnipropetrovsk. Now, the strike hit Ukrainian surface-to-air missile systems, artillery, and other targets. In addition, the ministry said that the Russian air defense forces intercepted several rockets and drones from the Ukrainian side.
Meanwhile, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine claimed that the Ukrainian armed forces continued their offensive operations in multiple directions. They also said that the Air Force launched strikes on Russian personnel and equipment positions. Rocket forces also struck Russian air defense systems, ammunition depots, as well as other targets. All right, we're now going to take you over to the United States, where the first contest in the U.S. presidential race kicks off on Monday evening in the state of Iowa. The Republicans in this central Midwest state will be gathering in caucuses to select their party's nominee for November's general elections. Our very own correspondent from VOA, Jessica Stone, is now live in Washington, D.C., tracking all of the latest developments. Hi there, Jessica. Good morning. So, Jessica, first, could you start us off by sharing with our viewers that maybe are not familiar, what exactly is a caucus and why is this Iowa caucus important in particular? Jessica, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut you off for a minute here. We have lost your audio. It seems that we are going to try to reconnect with you and get all of the latest updates in regards to the U.S. presidential election. In the meantime, though, we will take a short break here on the program and try to fix things up a little bit, but we will return with more news just for you right after this.
Their existence is now being critically endangered.
Dia memiliki ekor yang sangat panjang, jauh lebih panjang daripada badannya sendiri.
Tekniknya dia itu bergelombol menggunakan punggung temannya untuk naik.
Sebenarnya konservasi burung hantu di sini latar belakangnya jelas asas manfaat. Jadi kita pengen melestarikan burung, melestarikan satwa, tapi juga otomatis dampaknya ke masyarakat yang khususnya sekarang kalau di sini kan petani.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking that to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
Welcome back to Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, where we bring you guys some of the sports that you guys can go play here in Indonesia.
Handball karena masih baru, tadi kita harus bisa juga mempopulerkan ini kepada masyarakat sampai ke bawah.
We do it from scratch at the time because we don't know ice hockey, how to play, how to develop, how to manage this sport.
You don't have to be good with your foot. You can just dribble the ball and just throw it to the full ball.
Yeah,
Group of volunteers operating in south of the city has united to assist displaced children in a refugee camp in Rafah in overcoming the trauma of war. The volunteers come from diverse professional backgrounds and share expertise in working with young people.
I love this atmosphere. Woo! Heading to Gili Trawangan. And this is the travel note because life is dope.
Hi there, back with us here on the C Morning Show. So a quick recap, as mentioned prior to the break, the first contest of the U.S. presidential race will be kicking off on Monday evening U.S. time in the state of Iowa. And the Republicans in this particular central Midwest state will be gathering in caucuses to select their party's nominee for November's general election. We're now going to reconnect with VOA's Jessica Stone, who is live in Washington, D.C., sharing with us all of the latest developments. Hi, Jessica. Welcome back. Let me just start off again by asking what exactly is a caucus and why is the Iowa caucus important? Jessica, we still don't have your audio, by the way, so would you be able to try to reconnect? We have your visuals, by the way, so we're just waiting for you to connect on your audio. Having some technical problems. All right, we're going to try to fix things up in a minute, but we're going to share some news from Southeast Asia for you first. We're going to start off with some of the latest headlines for this morning.
Okay, first we have the headline from Laos, where the Lao PDR Bank recently requested foreign investors to the country's commercial bank account for financial transactions. The new policy was made when inflows of foreign investment in the banking system differs to that of the agreed capital. Now, the policy aims to ensure transaction stability, the value of the Lao KIP, and the address payment. Meanwhile, all financial transactions, including investment transfers, profit transfers, and repayment of principal and interest, must be conducted through domestic bank accounts.
Next up, still from Laos, where Princess Maha Chakri Srinthorn of Thailand recently made her annual visit to the country. The aim of the visit was to boost bilateral relations and cooperation between both countries. She attended the 30th anniversary of the Huani Son Huani Swa Agricultural Development Service Center, accompanied by Lao Vice President Pani Yathotu. She also visited the ethnic school at kilometer 67, which has received educational assistance worth over 2.7 million bahts for the construction of an office, a female dormitory, as well as teaching equipment.
And the last headline is coming from Cambodia, where Justice Minister Kut Rith has chief prosecutors across the kingdom to fortify and improve the existing judicial system. This was part of Prime Minister Hun Manet's judicial reform campaign, which is considered a priority issue. Now, the Phnom Penh Municipal Court has arrested former Kep City Governor Keng Yon as he was found guilty of misappropriating state interest and funds for personal gain. He was arrested and charged with money laundering and abuse of power and is now awaiting pre-trial at Phnom Penh Municipal Court. And on to our first news from the region. The Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs announced earlier on Saturday, January the 13th, that 18 Filipino sailors who were on board a seized oil tanker were safe in Iran.
Previously, on Thursday, Iranian authorities seized the Marshall Islands flagged oil tanker St. Nicholas, which was in transit from the Iraqi port of Basra to the Turkey in the Gulf of Oman.
DFA Undersecretary Eduardo Jose de Vega said that the Philippines is in contact with the Iranian authorities and has received confirmation of the ship's seizure. De Vega also said that the department is waiting an official report from the Iranian embassy and is coordinating with the Iranian government to work for Filipino sailors a safe release as soon as possible.
Earlier on Thursday, January the 11th, Iranian authorities seized a Marshall Islands flagged oil tanker, St. Nicholas, during its transit from Iraq to Turkey in the Gulf of Oman. According to the Iranian news agency, the seizure was in retaliation for the seizure and theft of oil by the U.S. last year.
The oil tanker, formerly known as the Suez Rajan, was previously confiscated by the United States in 2023 following a sanctions enforcement operation for carrying Iranian oil. On to our next update. The former leader of the Move Forward Party, Pita Limjaroenrat, said on Thursday, January 11th, that he would continue to work despite political setbacks and legal challenges.
Pita, who led the Move Forward Party in Thailand's 2023 general election, won the largest seats in the Thai parliament, but was unable to form a governing coalition. He's now facing a lawsuit over his ownership of company shares during the election.
Pita Limjaroenrat shook up the Thai politics after his party won a landslide victory in Thailand's 2023 general election. But after a veto by the Thai Senate, whose members were appointed by the military and given the power to choose the prime minister under the 2017 constitution, his bid to become Thailand's next prime minister came to an end. Despite failing to form a government, Pita described his setbacks as just a detour from his goal of reforming Thailand.
I see it as a detour, and it's part of the process. I don't take it personally. I'm not the first one who had to go through it. In the past, 30, 40 years of our lifetime, if you look back, it happens every decade to a different personality. So I don't take personal things personally. I think of it as a detour that I had to go through it with stamina and the right mindset.
His bid to become Thailand's next prime minister ended after he failed to form a ruling coalition, and instead his coalition partner, Pheu Thai Party, broke off and was later given the chance to form a new government. Reflecting on how events have unfolded, Pita said he holds no grudges against anyone and said he has learned his lesson.
The more you hold grudges, the less mindful you'll be, and you'll be trapped in the past. And the gift of today, the present of today, is taken away from. Then that's when you cannot think right and you cannot anticipate the future. But I learn. I have my lessons. I forgive, but I won't forget.
Earlier September 2023, Pita resigned as leader of the Move Forward Party and now faces a lawsuit over his alleged ownership of shares in media company during the election, which will determine whether he can continue to serve as a member of a parliament. While Pita is confident that he will win, he says that even if he loses, he will continue to work.
Continue working. It's just that I can't come and speak in the parliament and I can't vote for the people. But to be in front of the people when they are in trouble, traveling the country, traveling the world, and speak on their behalf. I mean, even if I don't have the authority to lead, I felt like I still have the legitimacy to lead. And I also owe 14 million people of their trust. So that means that I should still continue working.
Pita said that his greatest achievement was to make people believe in a new future for Thailand, despite the current setback, which he described as like riding a roller coaster. He believed that change would inevitably come, but acknowledged that it would be a struggle.
I feel like change will inevitably come, but if you just keep waiting or say that time is on our side, but everything else is on their side. So yes, we have to give it all we got, and we can be hopeful that finally the progressive movement will inevitably win here in Thailand. But you can never be careless. There's always mechanisms, invisible hands that resist change.
Following his suspension as an MP in July last year on January 24, Thailand's Constitutional Court will read its verdict and decide whether if Pita's alleged share ownership broke election rules.
For another short break, but after this we will have a talk with Indonesian musician Ade Govinda and Malaysian singer Ernie Zakri on their newest collaboration, only on the C Morning Show. Stay tuned.
Oh, I love this atmosphere. Woo! Heading to Gili Trawangan. And this special episode, I already prepared myself for an adventure on the island, which in the top of the list to visit. And this is the travel note because life is dope.
existence is now being critically endangered.
Dia memiliki ekor yang sangat panjang, jauh lebih panjang daripada badannya sendiri.
Tekniknya dia itu bergelombol menggunakan punggung temannya untuk naik.
Sebenarnya konservasi burung hantu di sini latar belakangnya jelas asas manfaat. Jadi kita pengen melestarikan burung, melestarikan satwa, tapi juga otomatis dampaknya ke masyarakat yang khususnya sekarang kalau di sini kan petani.
Alright guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking that to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
Hey there, buddies! Welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk.
Enggak, dia hostnya, kita co-hostnya.
It's better to be overdressed than underdressed. That's actually a good hack, because I used to live in Canada. That was our trick.
Point to Manado on the smash. I'm horrible. I told you I'm bad.
Dikira dengan banyaknya informasi itu kan jadi makin gampang gitu nulisnya.
Iya.
Tapi ternyata susah banget.
A group of volunteers operating in the south of the city has united to assist displaced children in a refugee camp in Rafah in overcoming the trauma of war. The volunteers come from diverse professional backgrounds and share expertise in working with young people.
Asian flavors is gaining more popularity around the world in the last decade. Personally love this, not just because it is familiar for our palate, but because the airiness, the textures of the youtiao, it's completely different when baguette. So with those appetites and with those pleasure-driven people, Menteng is a very special place for restaurant.
I love this atmosphere. Woo! Heading to Gili Trawangan. And this is the travel note because life is dope.
Sayang itu
What an amazing performance! That was the latest single from a collaboration with an Indonesian and Malaysian artist. Ernie Zakri, Mas Ade Govinda will join us shortly. Come on down, have a seat here.
Hi, Mas Ade. Hello. Have a seat.
Thank you for being here, guys. What a lovely song.
Yeah.
Great to see you again, Mas Ade.
Oh, sorry.
Hope your guitar is okay. There we go.
Guitar? Okay.
There you go. Just pass it.
All right.
Okay, so that was masing-masing.
Masing-masing.
I don't know how to explain it in English, but it means like separating.
Yes,
and going
it
back.
Yeah.
Like,
Each on your own.
Yeah, to each. Yeah,
To
each
each
to each.
Yeah. Okay.
It sounds better in our languages.
Masing-masing. Okay, can you talk about this new single, Masing-masing? It's a heartbreak song. Maybe you can explain to us, Mas Ade.
Yeah, this is a heartbreak song about many couples that happen to be stay together with toxic relationship.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think we don't know in the other life we can God have a good plan for we separate.
How to get out of a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of people stay in toxic
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
They don't know how to find their way out of it.
Yeah. What about from you?
Yes, I guess, well, I don't have any experience regarding that toxic relationship. It's always from Mas Ade.
My experience.
But I guess, yeah, this is a story about the toxic relationship and how you want to get out from that relationship. And sometimes I think that most people fear of that and they don't want to separate because they don't want to be
alone,
and also don't want to be a bad person. So I guess this song is just to give to give a shout out to people that you can actually find your happiness.
Yeah, I was listening to some of the lyrics when you were singing it. I mean, you gave a lot of examples, and I'm sure some of our viewers, if not us here in the studio, can relate to some of those situations that you mentioned. You know, sometimes we choose to do one thing as opposed to doing the other when we know the other is actually better for us. Yeah, very lovely song. But it's also a bit sad, by the way.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Very sad.
So this Masing-masing is actually not even your first collaboration. This is not the first time you guys worked together. Can you tell us how you first started working together?
Before my band Govinda is collaborate with Ernie. The song title is Hal Hebat.
Okay.
And yeah, Alhamdulillah, it's very good response in Malaysia. And then with Ernie, we often like talk about song, about about anything else, and I say to Ernie, I think we can collaborate in my solo project and Ernie solo project. And this masing-masing is the we make 2 songs, yeah?
Yeah, 2
but
songs.
But
2 songs.
this one is the first release.
Okay, the other one's not released yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for those that are maybe have not been familiar with Masade is amazing at finding talents and producing music for other people as well, not just for his own band. So it's no surprise that there you go. So what was it like when Masade reached out to you then, Ernie, for this particular project?
We've collaborated before, so I guess we kind of built the chemistry with Govinda, and I approached him and I said that I really want to have one solo song from him, and he's actually quite famous in Malaysia. The song Hal Hebat is still great in Malaysia now, and it's going viral in Malaysia. So I guess it's better for me to collab with him since we already have that chemistry.
So it was your idea then to come up with this new project as well? Like you were first approached?
It's both of us actually. Yeah, and I said to him that I really want a heartbroken song, a galau song. It's a trend now in Malaysia.
So you guys call it galau as well?
Galau, yes. And I think Masing Masing is a perfect song, and I put this song in my album last year.
Wow. Okay. Can you tell us the process, the creative process behind it? What was it like for you to work together?
Yeah, I would say it's not. It's pretty easy with Masadi because since we already have the chemistry, we just don't talk about music. We always talk about eating, makan, kuliner, and stuff like that. So we've discussed nasi padang. We've discussed a lot of things on WhatsApp only, and he gave me the demo and also the arrangement via WhatsApp. So, and I just came here and we just record in one day.
Oh, so everything was done prior to this without even visiting?
No, yeah.
Only when vocal take,
Yeah, only vocal take here in Jakarta.
Which you did here.
Yeah, and we shoot the music video in Yogyakarta.
Yeah.
So that's your reason for coming here as well as the recording and to have nasi padang.
Yes, of course.
Nasi gudeg. You went to Yogyakarta. Did you eat nasi gudeg?
Have we? No.
Ernie like bakmi.
Bakmi, yeah.
What's Masade's favorite food in Malaysia? Because I love Malaysian food.
Salai.
Nasi salai.
Daging salai. Yeah, it's spicy though.
Okay, there you go. It's perfect. And you know, I think it's perfect that the fact that our two nations, we share so many things apart from culinary experiences, but the language is very similar as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so when you came up with the lyrics for this, I mean, did you have to think about, well, how will this translate for the Indonesian audience as opposed to the Malaysian audience, or is this mostly going to be for your Malaysian audience?
I guess it's not that hard because we share the same meaning, and in Malaysia we do listen to a lot of Indo songs, so it's pretty easy. And well, obviously people love Mas Ade's lyrics. It's so puitis, yeah. So I guess it's just easy, and now like people in Malaysia already listen to Masing Masing and they love it so much because we relate to
galau.
Yeah,
the galau culture.
Yes.
Galau culture.
Okay. Now you mentioned that you shoot the music video in Yogyakarta. Tell us what was the experience like shooting the video?
We took only half day.
Yes.
Half day to shoot in Pantai apa ya?
Gelagah.
Pantai Gelagah.
Yeah, we're seeing some of the highlights there.
Yeah, Pantai Gelagah. So it was pretty awesome. It was my first time in Yogyakarta. I just love the scenery there, and it's also easy. Everything with Masadi, it's pretty much very simple. And
who came up with the idea of Yogyakarta to begin with? Was it
Masade?
Why Yogyakarta?
My hometown.
Okay.
and then many music videos for my song is shooting in Jakarta. And I want different...
Something different.
Yeah.
Vibes, yeah.
It's beautiful out there. But I was just telling Shanaz about my last visit to Yogyakarta. It's amazing.
I really want to go there, and I really I've been craving some time for the nasi gudeg. Nasi gudeg.
I should try.
Right. So this song is about toxic relationships and how you would like to convey the message that you can separate yourself from these relationships. You mentioned that you haven't really been through any of these experiences. So what is it like for you to put yourself in this situation where you have to try to inspire others to try to get out of these kind of relationships if you yourself haven't been in one? Where do you draw your inspiration?
In my album, I always portray a women empowerment message. So I guess this song is also perfect for that because we've been hearing a lot of women out there who suffers from a toxic relationship, and I guess like I need to be a voice to women out there. And we just ngobrol with Mas Ade, and he just tell me about his experiences, and so it's kind of go from there.
Okay. What's the toughest decisions or some of the hardest decisions? Because this song I would say is about decision.
Yes.
What was the hardest decision that you ever had to make in your life, Mas?
Apa ya? Moving to Jakarta from Jogja.
Really?
Oh, really?
For
That
being
was
a
tough for you.
musician.
Wow.
Because I'm alone and because in Jakarta it's the industry
Right.
We must go here, and I think that's the hardest.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Because Jogja is quite a small rural city, so there was a bit of a culture shock, I guess, right? Look at you now.
And in Jogja it's very slowly.
Easy going, and not hustle and bustle. How about you, Ernie? What's the toughest decision you've ever had to make?
I guess when I decided to wear a hijab, so it's kind of tough for me at first.
It's a commitment.
Yeah, it's a commitment, but I feel that I want to find my happiness in my life. So it was pretty hard at first, but along the way, I'm just okay with everything, and I thank God for my decision, and and I'm happy now. I have my husband and my daughter, so. Yeah.
I would say that both those tough decisions have led to you guys being where you are these days, right? So if you didn't make those decisions, you wouldn't be as successful or happy as you are. So there you go, guys. Hope that's able to inspire you guys.
Yes. And tell us more about the future plans. Maybe this is the
your second single as well, right? Another single.
Yes, but it's a bit different. It's about happiness in yes. And it's also created by Mas Ade, and I just want to say that I'm thankful to be with him today, and also we've shared a lot of stories in our life, and I really hope that I can work with him again, not just these two songs. And I can't wait for people in Malaysia and Indonesia to listen to our second song.
Yeah.
Which will be released when?
It's
I think
in the middle of this year.
Okay.
Yeah, so
June or
we're now focusing on masing-masing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, give it some time to breathe.
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the beautiful performance also. Good luck with Masing-Masing and also the second single.
Thank you so much for coming here. How long are you staying in Indonesia?
Until Friday.
Okay, that is like 8 nasi padang meals.
Yeah.
In between.
I cannot wait.
last night already,
Today.
Great spot down the street we can recommend for you. Mas Ade, it's always great to see you.
Thank you.
And all the best for you as well.
Yes. All right. Now let's take another break. We will have a recap of news from our previous segment. So stay with us on the C Morning Show.
The beauty and the excitement of being there.
Indescribable through such an iconic, historical, and magnificent.
Let's take a look around, shall we? Come on in. We found them.
Where people come and go. A cup of tea, a perfect way to end your day. Come see the beauty, only on See Indonesia.
Welcome back to Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, where we bring you guys some of the sports that you guys can go play here in Indonesia.
Handball karena masih baru, tadi kita harus bisa juga mempopulerkan ini kepada masyarakat sampai ke bawah.
We do it from scratch at the time because we don't know ice hockey, how to play, how to develop, how to manage this sport.
You don't have to be good with your foot. You can just dribble the ball and just throw it to the full ball.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Their existence is now being critically endangered.
Dia memiliki ekor yang sangat panjang, jauh lebih panjang daripada badannya sendiri.
Tekniknya dia itu bergelombol menggunakan punggung temannya untuk naik.
Sebenarnya konservasi burung hantu di sini latar belakangnya jelas asas manfaat. Jadi kita pengen melestarikan burung, melestarikan satwa, tapi juga otomatis dampaknya ke
Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking that to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
Oh, I love this atmosphere. Woo! Heading to Gili Trawangan. And this special episode, I already prepared myself for an adventure on the island, which in the top of the list to visit. And this is the travel note because life is dope.
A group of volunteers operating in south of the city has united to assist displaced children in a refugee camp in Rafah in overcoming the trauma of war. The volunteers come from diverse professional backgrounds and share expertise in working with young people.
Welcome back to the C Morning Show, and as mentioned before, the first contest in the U.S. presidential race kicks off on Monday evening U.S. time in the state of Iowa. The Republicans in the central Midwest state will gather in caucuses to select their party's nominee for November's general election. And VOA's Jessica Stone is live in Washington, D.C., tracking all the developments. Hi, Jessica. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good morning. First, I want to ask you, can you tell us what is a caucus and why is this Iowa caucus important?
Yeah, so Iowa caucuses are the first test, essentially, of candidates' popularity. And the people who win the Iowa caucuses don't necessarily go on to win the nomination for their party or even the general election, but it does give us a data point to know how popular they are with this set of voters. And it's also very interesting how they go about doing the voting. They're going to be going to 1,600 different sites around the state, churches, community centers, schools, and debating who they want to support for their party's nomination. This is only happening on the Republican side. The Democrats are only voting by mail, and they'll count their ballots in March. So this is just happening amongst Trump, Haley, and DeSantis, and a few others in the Republican field. But as you can see from the video we're showing you, it is bitterly cold. And this is a place where they go ice fishing for fun. They love the cold. They're used to the cold. But even the Iowans are saying it is really, really cold and really dangerous. And that could have a real impact, particularly on older voters, because according to Pew Research, almost a quarter of Republican voters are over the age of 65 and might not want to brave the cold, the dangerousness of going through ice and snow to cast a vote for a delegate tonight.
All right. Now, Jessica, former President Donald Trump is favored to win in Iowa. What is the Trump team looking for in the results?
They are looking for an absolute blowout. They want to hit 50% and keep on going of the vote. They want to send the message that Donald Trump is once again the standard bearer of the Republican Party, and we'll see how he does here in Iowa. He is already favored to win by about 28 points in the closest polling from the Iowa state, which is generally pretty accurate. But again, he is trying to send a message that there's no reason for anyone else to run against him throughout the rest of the process because he's got it locked up.
All right. Now, my last question will be Trump's main rivals are former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley and also Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Now, what's at stake for them?
Well, in some ways, this is a battle for second place. Both of them need to do well. Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, and particularly, he really needs to do well because he has spent lots of time, millions of dollars in the state of Iowa, going to each of the 99 counties, talking to people, shaking hands, kissing babies, going to pizza joints and donut shops and talking to voters and trying to convince them that he is the one to be elected, to be nominated to represent the Republican Party in the November election. But meantime, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley is really doing quite well. She's beginning to close the gap and rising in the polls closer and closer to Donald Trump. But this will send a message to donors for both of these candidates. If one of them, depending on the margin, if one of them has a healthy second or makes up ground as second and the other comes in a distant third, this could mean that one of them drops out. A lot of analysts are looking at Ron DeSantis and saying he has to do well tonight in Iowa because he's not contesting in the next primary. And we know that Nikki Haley has really just been continuing to rise. But again, she is not getting the kind of numbers that Donald Trump is in the polling. So we are watching closely to see if her speeches tonight actually indicate that she is running for vice president at this point, or if in fact she continues to take on Donald Trump and his policies more pointedly and is continuing to try to be the nominee. So we have a lot to watch over the next few hours.
Okay, we will wait for your updates from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for your report. That was Jessica Stone reporting live from Washington, D.C. Take care. Thank you. All right, now we are going for another quick break, and Paul will return with a recap from the world of sports. So keep it here on the C Morning Show.
Hey there, buddies! Welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk.
Enggak, dia hostnya, kita co-hostnya.
It's better to be overdressed than underdressed. That's actually a good hack, because I used to live in Canada. That was our trick.
Point to Manado on the smash. I'm horrible. I told you I'm bad.
Dikira dengan banyaknya informasi itu kan jadi makin gampang gitu nulis.
Iya.
Tapi ternyata susah banget.
A group of volunteers operating in south of the city has united to assist displaced children in a refugee camp in Rafah in overcoming the trauma of war. The volunteers come from diverse professional backgrounds and share expertise in working with young people.
Asian flavors is gaining more popularity around the world in the last decade. Personally love this, not just because it is familiar for our palate, but because the airiness, the textures of the youtiao, it's completely different when baguette. So with those appetites and with those pleasure-driven people, Menteng is a very special place for restaurant.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking that to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
Their existence is now being critically endangered.
Dia memiliki ekor yang sangat panjang, lebih panjang, jauh lebih panjang daripada badannya sendiri.
Tekniknya dia keluar dia itu bergelombol menggunakan punggung temannya untuk naik.
Sebenarnya konservasi burung hantu di sini latar belakangnya jelas asas manfaat. Jadi kita pengen melestarikan burung, melestarikan satwa, tapi juga otomatis dampaknya ke masyarakat yang khususnya sekarang kalau di sini kan petani.
Oh, I love this atmosphere. Woo! Heading to Gili Trawangan. And this special episode, I already prepared myself for an adventure on the island, which in the top of the list to visit. And this is the travel note because life is dope.
The beauty and the excitement of being there.
Indescribable to such an iconic, historical, and magnificent.
Let's take a look around, shall we? Come on in. We found them.
Where people come and go. A cup of tea, a perfect way to end your day. Come see the beauty only on C Indonesia.
Welcome back to Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, where we bring you guys some of the sports that you guys can go play here in Indonesia.
Handball karena masih baru, tadi kita harus bisa juga mempopulerkan ini kepada masyarakat sampai ke bawah.
We do it from scratch at the time because we don't know ice hockey, how to play, how to develop, how to manage this sport.
You don't have to be good with your foot. Like, you can just dribble the ball and just throw it to the full ball.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the C Morning Show, everyone. It's 20 to 9 in the a.m. and it's time for a sports recap, beginning with the latest updates from the 2024 AFC Asian Cup, where Indonesia was defeated by Iraq 3-1 in the opening match of Group D at the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium. Iraq began their AFC Asian Cup Group D campaign strong by defeating Indonesia by a score of 3-1 at the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium in Qatar on Monday. Coach Shin Tae-yong's side exchanged attacks with their opponents from a start in a game that marked Indonesia's return to the tournament after a 16-year absence. They, however, ultimately lost steam as the game wore on. Mohanad Ali gained the lead for Iraq by scoring the first goal in the 17th minute. However, Indonesia was able to equalize after Marcelino Ferdinand utilized Asnawi's cross to score in the 37th minute for the Garuda squad. However, Indonesia lagged behind after Osama Rashid regained the lead for Iraq in extra time of the first half. Indonesia was caught off guard once again in the second half when Ayman Hussein scored the winning goal for Iraq in the 75th minute. Iraq will now face record champions Japan on Friday, while Indonesia will be looking for their first AFC Asian Cup win since 2007 as they get set to face Vietnam. And as we just saw, the Iraqi national football team defeated their Indonesian counterparts 3-1 in the Asian Cup Group D qualification stage at the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium on Monday night. However, despite this loss, Indonesian Football Association Chairman Erick Thohir praised the squad for going all out during the match. He also advised the Indonesian defenders to improve their coordination and also asked Coach Shin Tae-yong to assess the team ahead of their upcoming second match against Vietnam, which will take place on January the 19th.
Ya, tentu targetnya seri. Kita melihat persiapan kita sudah coba maksimal. Kita berlatih di Turki, kita coba membawa pemain yang terbaik, baik dari Liga Indonesia atau para pemain kita yang ada di Liga luar negeri. Tadi sempat 1-1 dan golnya di babak pertama juga karena kita bagian defense kita atau pertahanan kita agak berapa kali momentumnya hilang. Dan tadi kalau babak pertama kita bisa seri, mungkin beda pressure-nya, cuman tadi kembali kita kecolongan. Ya, di babak kedua saya rasa sama. Dan tentu saya berharap pelatih, para pemain mereview pertandingan hari ini. Kita lihat apakah Coach Tae-yong dan pemain bisa coba perbaikin. Ya, kita jangan kasih bendera putih sebelum terakhir.
Gol kedua Irak tadi tampak kontroversial karena dianggap offside. Ya, tapi gol isi gol lah. Lawan Vietnam gimana Pak?
Vietnam saya rasa tim yang tangguh ya. 7 pemain utamanya cedera. Dia masih bisa kemarin melawan Jepang sempat 2-1, lalu pemain Jepang kelasnya beda lah. Menang 4-2, jadi tidak pernah underestimate tim Vietnam. Yang dimana salah satu kekuatan mereka ketika mereka main sebagai tim nasional, patriotismenya itu ya sangat tinggi. Ini yang saya rasa pemain-pemain kita mesti belajar ketika kita pakai merah putih, ya mesti all out. Ya, hari ini sudah all out, tapi harus lebih lagi. Ya, Vietnam bisa, ya kenapa Indonesia nggak bisa?
Well said. And let's move on to some basketball news now from the NBA, where the Phoenix Suns managed to beat the Portland Trail Blazers 127-116 at the Moda Center in Portland, Oregon. This marks Portland's 4th consecutive defeat. Superstar guard Devin Booker scored 34 points, whereas the Phoenix Suns held off the Portland Trail Blazers 127-116 and notched their 2nd consecutive win. Bradley Beal added 23 points, while Kevin Durant scored 21 and Grayson Allen netted 20 for the Suns. The Suns, whose biggest lead was 17 points, seemingly allowed Portland to narrow the gap to 4 points midway through the final quarter. On the opposing side, rookie Scoot Henderson netted a career-high 33 points and 9 assists for the Trailblazers. Portland have now suffered 4 consecutive losses and have lost 8 out of their last 10, including a 139-77 drubbing at the hands of Oklahoma City. This ties them for the 5th worst setback in NBA history.
Transition for guys they've had available to play tonight. And the experience, or lack of, Murray.
Let's move on to some tennis updates from the Australian Open, where Naomi Osaka exited the 2024 Australia Open after losing to her French counterpart, Caroline Garcia, 4-6, 6-7. Naomi Osaka waved to the crowd and walked up the Players' Tunnel when her Grand Slam comeback at the Australian Open ended in a first-round loss to 16th-seeded Caroline Garcia. It was too soon into her comeback for the former 2-time winner to have a chance of adding a 3rd title in Melbourne. Osaka lost just 3 matches into her return in a tight encounter at the Rod Laver Arena on Monday night. Meanwhile, her French counterpart Garcia did not give Osaka a look at a break point in the match. Most of the rallies were short and service holds were comfortable, except for the one in the first set, which ended up making all the difference. And in other sporting news, the local government of China's gambling hub, Macau, said on Monday that there will be no more horse racing in the city. They also announced plans to terminate the contracts with the city's jockey club in April. Macau, which is China's gambling hub, is home to various gambling businesses, which form a major pillar of its economy. However, its jockey club, which was acquired by a consortium led by late casino tycoon Stanley Ho in 1991, has been facing financial troubles in recent years. Macau official Cheong Weng Chon said that the Macau Horse Race Company asked for the termination of government contracts due to operational difficulties. Another contributing factor is the unlikelihood of aligning horse racing activities with the current developmental needs of society. Meanwhile, local media outlets said that the government has no plans for further horse racing public tendering. The firm pledged to transport its horses to other locations by March of 2025 under the termination agreement, which is due to take effect on April the 1st. In addition, the firm aims to treat the company's employees in accordance with the law. The local government of Macau signed on with the company for an extension of concessions until 2042, but the former Portuguese colony's horse racing scene has recently grappled with a slew of financial difficulties. It has yet to fully recover after the COVID-19 pandemic. According to Macau's business report last June, the club's accumulated losses has soared to $261 million in 2022. All right, folks, we're up for a final break here on the program, but do stick around. We still have more entertainment news coming up next.
Their existence is now being critically endangered.
Dia memiliki ekor yang sangat panjang, jauh lebih panjang daripada badannya sendiri.
Tekniknya dia keluar dia itu bergelombol menggunakan punggung temannya untuk naik.
Sebenarnya konservasi burung hantu di sini latar belakangnya jelas asas manfaat. Jadi kita pengen melestarikan burung, melestarikan satwa, tapi juga otomatis dampaknya ke masyarakat yang khususnya sekarang kalau di sini kan petani.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking that to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
Hey there, buddies! Welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk.
Enggak, dia hostnya, kita co-hostnya.
It's better to be overdressed than underdressed. That's actually a good hack, because I used to live in Canada. That was our trick.
Point to Manado on the smash. I'm horrible. I told you I'm bad.
Dikira dengan banyaknya informasi itu kan jadi makin gampang gitu nulis.
Iya.
Tapi ternyata susah banget.
A group of volunteers operating in the south of the city has united to assist displaced children in a refugee camp in Rafah in overcoming the trauma of war. The volunteers come from diverse professional backgrounds and share expertise in working with young people.
Asian flavors is gaining more popularity around the world in the last decade. Personally love this, not just because it's familiar for our palate, but because the airiness, the textures of the youtiao, it's completely different than baguette. So with those appetites and with those pleasure-driven people, Menteng is a very special place for restaurant.
Oh, I love this atmosphere. Woo! Heading to Gili Trawangan. And this special episode, I already prepared myself for an adventure on the island, which in the top of the list to visit. And this is the travel note because life is dope.
Welcome back to Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, where we bring you guys some of the sports that you guys can go play here in Indonesia.
You don't have to be good with your foot. Like, you can just dribble the ball and just throw it to the full ball.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Welcome back to the C Morning Show, everyone. As mentioned prior to the break, we're going to close our program with some entertainment news. Luxury is more than price or style, since it also involves elegance and timeless grace. Now, in addition, luxurious fashion offers comfort for those who love to express themselves.
Let's look at what is trending in the world of fashion at the start of the year.
First is Dolce & Gabbana, showcasing the latest collection as part of Milan Fashion Week. Dolce & Gabbana slowed to a romantic pace in a new collection, featuring richly elegant looks fit for a period drama. With a focus on tailoring, accents were few tassels on scarves, gleaming floral brooches, use of lace and sequins. The mostly black collection was broken up by gray, interludes of white, and more casual moments of denim and camel. Next, Fendi dropped the gender-busting men's collection inspired by Princess Anne. The designer called Princess Anne the chicest woman in the world who is capable of maintaining her femininity while wearing a uniform, the epitome of masculinity. Silvia Venturini Fendi plucked heirlooms from an aristocratic family hope chest and embellished them with details long removed from the feminine realm for Highland-stopping menswear collection previewed during the Milan Fashion Week. The designer said the collection is about longevity, creating heirlooms to underline garments for life, not use and throw away. Prada reconnects with the season for its 2024-2025 fall-winter menswear collection. The latest collection was set to explore the tension between the natural and the working worlds. Prada said that the new collection was meant for going outside and spending time there, not just a point of transit. Prada's co-creative director said that the collection referenced water in its many forms, such as the sea, rain. The Prada collection referenced climate change, but without being explicit.
All right, looks like it's going to be a good year for fashion, but not just fashion. We're now going to have a look at some of the latest updates from K-pop groups and solo artists.
A special unit consisting of the boys' member Sangyeon, Jacob, Kevin, New, and Joo Hak-neon released a music video teaser for their new track Rat in a Trap on January 16. Based on the short music video teaser, the new track will deliver another en vital concept of the boys' member. Previously, the boys' special unit duo, Sunwoo and Eric, also dropped the music video Honey from the boys' second album, Fantasy Part 2 Sixth Sense. Next, AB6 rolls out new music video teaser, Grab Me, from their 8-minute album The Future Is Ours, Found. Also on January 16, the boy group revealed a new cinematic music video teaser. In the music video, the members are seen in different settings, showing off their rebellious side. The album is set to be released on January 22nd. Mamamoo's leader, Solar, has just unveiled her first music video teaser for her highly anticipated remake of Kim Kwang-seok's iconic song, Love Has Gone. The release is part of her upcoming limited edition album, Solar Emotion Part 7, which is set to launch on January 18, 2024.
All right, on to our next update. Audiences who are seeing Gutenberg, the musical, on Broadway are treated to a celebrity cameo every night at the end of the show. Last week, the crowd went wild when Anne Hathaway and Anna Wintour jumped on stage.
Oh, I love me some Anne Hathaway. The original musical is the story of two huge theater fans, played by Josh Gad and Andrew Rannells, who pool all of their money and rent out a theater for just one night to perform a show, in hopes that they will find an investor to make their theater dreams come true. In animation, they have a movie called Sing. It's kind of similar.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Anyway, because the fictional show within the show is on such a tight budget, Gad's and Rannell's characters play all of the parts and indicate who they're playing by wearing different yellow trucker hats with their character names emblazoned on them.
Each night of the popular show's run, real celebrities have thrilled audiences by popping up on stage to reveal the show's ending. On Thursday night, Hathaway and Wintour both got on stage and received many laughs when Wintour claimed to be a Broadway producer and called Hathaway her assistant. Now, this refers to Hathaway's role as the assistant in The Devil Wears Prada, starring Meryl Streep as a character based on Wintour.
Brilliant. Other celebrities who have appeared on stage also include Nathan Lane, Cynthia Erivo, Billy Crystal, Kerry Washington, Will Ferrell, Tiffany Haddish, Martin Short, and Steve Martin, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Brooke Shields. Gutenberg, the musical, ends its run at the James Earl Jones Theater in New York at the end of this month, January the 28th. Beautiful, isn't she?
Oh, she's like ethereal.
She can do no wrong.
I know, right? Okay, and that wraps up our show today. It's been 180 minutes since you have welcomed us into your home. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed it delivering it to you. And you can also follow us on all our social media accounts on Instagram, X, and YouTube channel at Today News.
And make sure you tuned in with us each and every morning, same time, same channel. And don't forget to also catch our afternoon show every day at 5 to 8 p.m. We'd also like to say thank you to all of our friends that were able to tune in through Foxtel's Flash Australia, Macau Cable TV Channel 84, Vision Philippines Channel 58, and those of you in Singapore at Singtel Channel 15 and StarHub Channel 720. It's time for us to sign off this morning.
Yep.
See Indonesia.
See the world.
See today.
Bye.
Stay tuned with me, Chef Rayhan, only on Satisfactory, Cook Healthy and Cook Happy. Hello guys, back again with me, Chef Rayhan, only on Satisfactory, Cook Healthy and Cook Happy. Today, I'm bringing some grind chicken breast right here. And today, I'm gonna make some pasta and then I'm gonna make some chicken Florentine balls, right? For the ingredients, we have some veggies in here, baby spinach, onion, and cups of garlic. For seasoning, like always, salt and pepper. Then for the sauce, we're using some tomato paste, sugar, unsalted butter, a few of egg, Parmesan cheese. Then this is a breadcrumbs, and the last one is I have some spaghetti. Alright, first I'm gonna cook the spaghetti. We just turn off the heat. We just boil it about maybe 10 to 12 minutes until it's al dente. Added some salt, Next, then I'm gonna cook it or blanch it a little bit of the spinach. Alright guys, the water is already boiled, and then we just blanch 50 grams of spinach. Okay, it's adding like a brighter color of the spinach when you blanch it. 40 seconds maybe into 1 minute. Okay. Spinach is done. We just strain them.